Hello, everybody. This is Coach Teany for the Purpose with Passion video series. How is everybody doing? Where is everybody? It is Thursday. It is almost TGIF. And today we're going to talk about how to trust and be present in your own life and how we can trust even in New York City traffic and how sometimes we actually trust New York City traffic more than we trust our own selves. So if you're interested in this topic, please join me. For those of you who are in NYC, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So let's get started. Let's get in here. I know we're a little bit past the hour, so I want to get started in talking about this topic. We're going to talk about trust and being present. Trust and being present. So welcome, everybody. Hopefully you guys can join. I know it's a little crazy out there. The weather's a little bit wild, but we're going to make this happen today. So thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, today we're going to talk about how to trust and be present in your own life and how we trust sometimes New York City traffic more than we trust ourselves. So here's the question that I have for you guys. Have you ever noticed how much we actually trust our environment to keep us safe? And how, like, when we're even on the road, we're driving in these like huge mechanical vehicles, and while other people are also driving these huge mechanical vehicles, and yet we trust that they're going to stay in their lane and we're going to stay in our own lane, and never, knock on wood, shall the two meet. We're in the middle of traffic and we're on these tight lanes, and we trust that, we're going to get to wherever our destination is safely. How is that possible, right? How is that possible that we can do that? So yesterday I drove up to Westchester. I was heading up to work on a super windy road, and it was really nerve-wracking. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like the road, the parkway that I was on was super tight lanes. And I mean, my car is fairly big. It's a mini SUV. And there were other, cars around me, but the roads were so windy and tight, and like, it was just insane, right? I don't know how, people don't go crazy on these roads. And it made me think, about how fragile we are, how like any moment, anything can happen. And yet we're so blessed, and we trust in our environment. We trust in each other, really, because you're trusting that the other people are going to stay in their lane and you're going to stay in your own lane, and you're going to be safe all the way home to wherever you're going to get to work or your home. And it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And, obviously, yes, there are going to be chaotic moments. Things do happen. But for the most part, we get to work. We're on these roads and we get there safely, and it's an amazing thing. So why can't we seem to trust ourselves in our own lives to move forward and go for what we want, right? Why is that so hard? If we can trust, the crazy roads in New York City, going upstate or going anywhere in Manhattan, really, and trust other people in these cars, and trust, that these lanes are not going to be, causing trouble. Why is it that we can't trust in ourselves? Trust that we can make good decisions, trust based on what we really want, our true desires and our passions, and not put those on the back burner, not settle, and then still continue to trust the environment that it will be conducive to what, we want, to what we're allowing, in our lives, what we are desiring, and allowing us that space and the lane, right? The car lane, to see it through, to see what our passion is through. Why is that? Why is that the case, right? So the reason we can't seem to trust ourselves the way we trust New York City traffic, right? And other cars in these lanes, there's many reasons why, right? We might think that we're not enough. We've tried and failed, and why try again? And I totally get that, right? We've gotten burned, abused, hurt, and been failed pretty much in some kind of way or another, right? And I totally get that too. I've been there as well. And, so what reasons do you guys have, for not really trusting in your environment, and trusting, not in your environment, but trusting in yourself, and trusting in yourself to really focus on what you love and go after it, right? Why is it that you trust your environment and these other cars more than you trust yourself? While you guys answer that question, and it's not rhetorical, I want you guys to answer that question. What reasons do you have and have you used to not truly feel like you trust yourself and your environment to go after what you really want? What reasons are those? What is that? Why is that? So while you answer that question, I'm going to tell you a little story of when I was growing up, because there have been many times myself where I have felt like that I wasn't able to trust my environment, right? So I remember a time when I was a kid and I felt that my mom, like, she completely failed me. So it was a situation where I got in trouble in school because a kid was talking to me in class. And although I did get in trouble before for having talked in class, this time I said to myself, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to answer him. And yet when the teacher turned around, the teacher thought that I was the one that was doing the talking. And so lo and behold, I got in trouble and a letter got sent to my home that my mom got, right? So I get home and I'm proceeding to explain to my mom, like, hey, mom, like, it wasn't me. Like, this girl started talking to me and the teacher saw it and she thought it was me that was doing the talking, et cetera, et cetera. I was trying to explain to her that it wasn't my fault, right? Because even though I'd gotten in trouble before, this time I actually followed the rules, right? So she didn't believe me. And it was devastating, right? She proceeded then to give me, your typical Latino punishment at the time, which is she made me kneel on the floor for an hour. And I will never forget that moment, how I felt when I was kneeling on that floor. I was just so angry. And at that point, I had just become so distrustful and resentful for even years after that incident. Why? Because at that moment, I felt like I was being honest. I was telling the truth. And yet she didn't trust me. She wasn't, trusting in what I was saying to her. So I felt that in that instance, my environment actually failed me, right? Like, I was failed by my mom. So it hurt me so much that, believe it or not, my entire personality changed. So before this incident, obviously during this incident, I was very, very extroverted. I was very out there, right? But then after that happened, I completely became the opposite. I was extremely introverted, very quiet. And basically my entire light was just turned off. Like, I was completely another person. So much so that even like our extended family, like, our cousins, aunts and whatever, they would ask, like, what's wrong with her? Like, why is she so quiet and introverted? Why isn't she being social? Right? Because in Latino culture, like, we're very, very social. And for me not to be that way after I had been that way was just unusual. Right? So in that time, basically, I didn't go after what I wanted, which was really to be myself, because I felt that my mom and my environment had let me down. Right? I was the most introverted I'd ever been in my life. Crazy, I know, because I'm so extroverted now. But the reason why it happened was because I felt hurt. I felt like I was failed by my family and my school, right? So now eventually I realized that I was miserable, right? Like, not being myself was not me, right? Like, that person that I was turned into, so to speak, was not me. That there was a fire inside of me that, yearned to get out. That extroverted, happy, like, chipper self of, was in there still. She was yearning to get out. I mean, have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like, you had to down yourself, like mute yourself, or like not be yourself for whatever reason, whether it's something somebody told you, whether it was, a relative, a family member, somebody at work, a friend of yours, and you basically had to change your personality based on what the circumstance was, right? That's life. Things happen in life. And have you ever felt like this life, that you currently have isn't the life you are meant to live? Because that's how basically I felt. I'm like, this isn't me. This isn't my life. This isn't who I am. My light is dim, right? This isn't me. And I knew there was something and yearning to get out, right? To make that grand entrance and show the world who I really am, who I really was, and what I truly cared about, right? And I mean, basically, it kind of felt like an actress in a play, right? Like, it wasn't me. Like, I had to pretend to act this kind of muted, quiet little girl, and be this other person, and really not trusting of who I really was. And it kind of reminded me of the movie Enter the Dragon. You guys remember that movie, Enter the Dragon, with Bruce Leroy? And what does he do? Like, his master basically says to him, take these medallions, with this medallion, you find the match to these medallions, you will find your master, right? And it turned out that that medallion didn't belong to anyone. It was actually some, like Chinese fortune cookie factory. And the truth was that he was the master, right? I am the master. And I'll post an image in here of Bruce Leroy, because I love Bruce Leroy so much. But basically, I was not the master at the moment of my own life. I was, someone else. I was pretending to be someone else, someone who I really wasn't, right? So the question here is, where are you distrustful and not being yourself? And where can you be more trusting? How can you be more trusting of yourself and your environment, your people, and your universe, right? How can you be the master of your life? How can you trust and be more present in your own life? And, have you been thinking of is there, an idea, a business, a project that you want to create, someone that you want to become, is there something that you want to learn how to do? Is there a version of you that you want to come out, this biggest, brightest, most brilliant version of you? What is that, right? What is that, passion, that purpose that you've been sort of pushing down inside yourself, muting, right? And where and how can we start, bringing that master back up, bringing that real you, that true you back up? So, trust me when I tell you that realizing I was living a lie and distrusting in my environment and myself was a formula for absolute misery. Trust me when I tell you that, because for years I had become this non-me, this unreal me, this actress me, right? And I was basically being everything and everyone else wanted me to be. And it was a lie, right? It really wasn't me. So I had to switch that around and start being more present. So where can you now start becoming more present, right? Where can you start trusting in your own gut, in your own feeling, in that thought of there's something that I've been wanting to manifest, something that I've been wanting to grow, something, a business, a project, an idea, a concept, a person, a persona that I want to be, Where is that person? What is that person? What is that thing? What is that project? What is that thing, right? And how can we start sort of bringing that out and you becoming the master of that thing, of whatever it is that you wanted to manifest? So if you guys heard me in the beginning of this talk, I was talking about, basically New York City traffic, right? And how we really trust our environment so much when we're driving, right? We're driving down these lanes, these narrow lanes that are windy and crazy. And we trust often these cars, these strangers, more than we trust ourselves. So we have to start switching that around, because it's just crazy, right? It's crazy that we actually trust other people and other cars more than we trust ourselves. So start thinking about what is it in yourself that you can start trusting more deeply, better, stronger, more connected, more trustworthy, more present in your life. Where can you start being that person, right? And sort of removing all the other labels that you've maybe acquired over time, and that persona that's not really you, like I did, right? That persona that I had to adopt because my mom had failed me, or I thought that she had failed me so bad, right? What labels have you been giving yourself? Are you now the muted person? Are you now the quiet person? And who are you really, right? Are you that, out there person, that friendly, outgoing, want to be X, Y, or Z person? Is that the person that you truly are? Is that person that you truly want to be? And so here's a little activity that you guys can do to sort of release all of that, all the labeling and all the stories that you've been telling yourself, because those are just stories, or BS. There's belief systems, AKA stories, bullshit stories that you've been basically telling yourself. So the way you can do that is you can write down on a sheet of paper, any sheet of paper, and actually it might work better if you actually use a napkin, because for this activity, it'll be cool for you to write it on a napkin. So if you start writing on a napkin, what are the labels that you give yourself, that you've been giving yourself, right? What are the labels that you've been giving yourself over time, over all these different years? What are they, right? Start writing whatever all these labels are. And I could only find a pencil, but Start writing what all these labels are, all these labels of who you've been over all these years. And then what I want you to do is drop water on it. Drop water on it and watch how all these labels disintegrate. Because these labels, these things that you've been calling yourself, this quiet, introverted, unimportant person, or all these things happen to me, or all these, whatever those things are not you. They are not actually you. You actually get to decide who you are and what you are, right? And so once you put water and drop water on those labels, especially if you draw it in marker or in pen, you'll see it more, not as much with pencil. But if you do that, you'll see that it kind of disintegrates and fades away. And that's what I want you to carry in your mind, that you are not the representation of those labels. You are more than those labels. You are whatever it is that you want to be, right? And that's why I make these videos. That's why I talk to you guys about discovering and like really truly tuning in to your purpose with passion, because these stories, I've had them too. And I grew up in an environment where, they tried to tell me what to do, and they tried to make me a certain way, and they still do, right? My parents still do. My family still does. My friends probably still do too. But at the end of the day, I get to choose. I get to choose what I want to be. I get to choose who I trust and what I'm present to and present for, right? That's what really matters. So all that said, thank you so much for joining me. Today is all about trusting and being present. And if you like what you hear, share it. And if you like to hear more and need some assistance in getting connected to that really true you, then feel free to hit me up at calendly.com/Teany Hidalgo and book a free 45-minute session to talk to me. And we can definitely sort that out. Join my Purpose with Passion group coaching, which is actually happening this next month in June, at the end of June. And if you go to sanesewellness.com, you'll be able to find all the details about that. But in the meantime, book that free session. Do it for you. Do it for that little girl that I was, right? That little girl who had to become muted, who didn't know who she was anymore, who had to become like someone else. And then eventually became, I am the master, I am the dragon, right? Find that person. So, and I will be more than happy to help you figure out who that person is. So look for me, find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, on YouTube, and I will talk to you guys soon. I'll see you on the passionful, purposeful side. Bye.